My media poster uses, develops and challenges conventions of torture film. In terms of narrative conventions, I have developed them. It is typical in torture horror that the torturer is a man and the victims are women. For my own narrative, I decided to completely reverse this convention and use a woman torturing men. Therefore, my poster has an image of a woman and not a man. In terms of genre, I did follow some conventions of torture posters in that I included tools within the image that are used to imply that it is used on the victim or victims. I used a sharp blade for my image and placed it in the mouth of my main character. I used a blade because I wanted to use a weapon that wasn't bulky, masculine or exaggerated like a chainsaw. A blade seemed like the right choice as it is delicate and looks harmless. I also put blood on the hands and face of my main character. The first time I took the image for my poster, I had too much blood on the hand and no blade in the mouth. The blood on the hands was too much and looked amateur, so I decided to retake the image with less blood, making sure it could be seen dripping down the hands. The institutions I used were Lionsgate Films and Twisted Pictures. These are typical distributors and producers that are typical for torture horror films. It is also conventional to have a billing block at the bottom of the poster, which I have done. The logos of the distributor and producer are also with the billing block at the bottom. The size of the billing block is conventional, and the font I used was called Steel Tongs, which is the typical font used for film posters. The representation in my film totally challenges conventions of torture films and twists the ideology. Torture films usually use a man as the torturer and represent him as the strong one, who has the power over his who are usually women. I decided I wanted to use a counter-type and make the torturer a woman. However, I still wanted to represent the woman as strong and powerful, like it would be with a man. In order to do this, I made sure that the face of the character was stern and the pose was powerful. The shot type I used was a close-up, which is typical for torture films, as it doesn't give away too much about the full story. However, I used my main character in the shot, which isn't conventional. I decided to do this because I wanted it to be obvious straight away that it was a woman carrying out the torture. The font I used for the title of my film is not typical of torture horror films because it is delicate, feminine and simplistic. Typical torture films use fonts that look distorted, destroyed or broken to connote danger and pain. However, I wanted the font of my title to connote the main character, so I decided it needed to be feminine. However, I did use a serif font which is conventional, and the font was black, a colour that is used in a lot of torture film packages. My tagline, however, is in white so that it stood out against the rest of the poster. I also used a sans serif font so that it completely contrasted with the title font. Using a tagline and making it contrast with the other fonts on the page is conventional with torture film posters. I decided to follow this convention as I felt it made the overall product look more realistic and professional. I also decided to put a review quote at the top of the poster. This is neither conventional nor non-conventional, as many posters use one and many don't. Hostel, Saw and Creep use review quotes on their posters, but other films like The Collection, The Final and Torture Chamber don't. I used one because the two posters I analysed used one, and I feel it gives other dimensions to the poster. It allows the audience to be told what other people think of it. The connotation of the narrative in the image on my website is similar to the one on my poster. I did this because I wanted the two images to go well together. I made sure that the face of my character was still stern so that the power was still there. I also kept the blood dripping down the hands. The positioning is the only difference. For this image, I had her full face showing for direct address of the audience. I also had her body side on with her hands reaching out delicately. I then took a separate image of a saw and edited it to look old and used. This was positioned in the top left-hand corner. I then edited and moved both images so that they fit together to look like the main character was touching the saw. This does the same thing as the blade in the mouth, in that it implies that the saw could be a weapon that is used in the film. I followed Rick Altman's semantic theory with the saw, as it is perfect iconography of torture films, as it is a typical tool used. I didn't, however, follow the syntactic theory, as I challenged the conventional theme of a male torturer. The billing block on my website is in a white sans serif font at the bottom centre of my website, the same as on the poster. It is conventional to have a billing block at the bottom of the website, so I used this convention. The institutional parts of the billing block are there too. I represented the torturer in this image as strong and powerful, but still feminine, as I wanted to really get across the fact that it's a woman torturing men and not the other way round. This is a countertype, and therefore I challenge the convention that would be used in other torture films. The shot type for this image is a medium close-up, as opposed to the close-up on the poster. I decided to use separate images as I wanted to show more of the face and make sure that there was some direct address in the full package. I also wanted to get more of the body into the shot and show the arms reaching for the saw. The title on the website is the same as the one on the poster, to create continuity and familiarity for the audience. The tagline is also the same, but I used a different review quote as I wanted to show a different comment on the film. However, in order to create more continuity, I used the same fonts and colours for the review quotes. All the writing except for the title has a drop shadow on it. I used a drop shadow because I wanted it to have more contrast and stand out, especially the words on the navigation bar. These needed to stand out against the saw, so I changed the font colour to red from white and gave it a drop shadow. At the bottom of my website, I have added a bar with social networking sites in it. The use of Synergy allows the viewer to find out and interact with the film package on other networks. I used the Twitter and Facebook icons in my website and also used a likes/view counter so that the viewers can see how many people have used other networks for the film. Another form of Synergy that I used was a tickets bar. This is in the top right hand corner and allows the audience to pre-book tickets for the film with cinemas.